Welcome to live Zwift Racing League action here on Zwiftaholics. We are in with APAC divisions B1 and B2 tonight. Unfortunately, not joined by anyone in the commentary box just yet. We're going to try and get Josh McLellan on the line as the night goes on. He's still on family duties at the moment, so just me at the moment in the pen here with the B2 team. Interesting looking screen at the moment for some reason all the riders have stopped pedaling. I don't know what's going on there. This is a brand new Zwift glitch slash feature for me. I'm just kind of crossing my fingers and hoping that when we get to the drop of the flag at 7:31 p.m. that all these riders take off and we've got some racing to follow. Otherwise, I'll have to jump in and find another way of doing it. So tonight, a true Belgian Cobbled classic right here on Zwift. I'm so excited. I think looking forward to commentating it much more than riding it. I've actually signed up to do it twice tomorrow, which is ludicrous because this is without a doubt one of the hardest courses that WTRL have thrown us so far. 5 laps of cobbled climbs, which means Libby Hill and 23rd Street, timed segments, raced segments, first across the line points, fastest segment time points. So first across the line every single lap, fastest segment time across all 5. And then the Governor Street climb afterwards, which doesn't appear in the primes, but is just as long and taxing as Libby Hill. And then you've got a little bit of recovery, and then around you go again. So some opportunities on this course to recover. Super Tuck, it's all going to be about how these riders can punch and recover because that's just what it's going to be for over an hour here. We've got 46 kilometers, a long route, punchy route. I'm sure we're going to see a lot of attrition. These races are going to break up. Maybe break up and come back together even. We might see something quite new as the B2 riders do head off here. Looks like we might be missing the pedaling animation, which is going to be bizarre. This is one of the strangest things I have ever seen on Zwift. Going to be a little distracting, actually. So we might try and jump in with some of the other riders here and just see if we can get the graphics to work for us here tonight and hopefully get some placings. Here we go. We've got some action now happening in the field. So still some interesting little graphical glitches going on. We'll jump in with, I just saw Mr. Dave Otto from the AHDR team who we might just jump in with. There we go, from the AHDR Beers team. So 2 teams represented here for AHDR in the B2 division. We have the AHDR Beers and the AHDR Bandits. And then over in B1, if we can get over there, we have the division leading AHDR Blowflies. So I will just jump over quickly. We've got a little bit of a flat and descent lead into the serious action on this lap. So if we just jump over real quickly, let's have a little look. So this is our sign-ups for the B2 teams. So Booth, Nelson, Wilkinson, Otto, Wilson, Opel, Russell, Pelgrim, Fails, Vic R, and Wayne Clement for AHDR in B2. And here are the standings at the moment. So Dirt OG holding a narrow lead, but a close race for the podium in this division. Innsbruck Ringers in second and Relentless in third on 75 points. And then a bit of a gap. So AHDR teams have been battling hard here, sitting in 8th and 13th at the moment. Got some reasonable points on the board so far and a really tight mid-table battle going on there, the minor placings in this league. So Dirt, the team to beat, and closely followed by Innsbruck Ringers and Relentless. So we'll watch that one with some interest as the lads head out here. Looks like a nice tight bunch. Let's just jump onto the drone cam and have a look. We've got a couple off the back, as you often see. May have just missed the kick early on, but a nice, fast, tightly packed bunch here in B2. So I will try my luck getting over to the B1 race just to have a look at how that one's stacking up and see who we've got over there. And it looks like we're going to be able to jump in with Mitchell Stewart from the AHDR Blowfly. So they're a little further along the course. They started a minute earlier. We might expect a slightly higher pace from the B1 races today. Now, do I have you on the right screen? No, I don't. We are looking at the lineups and standings. So just quickly for B1, Team AHDR, Adam Evans, Dave Proven, Laurent Doyen, Martin Tenham, Mitchell Stewart, and Richard Spear. donning the AHDR colours tonight. And if we look at the standings, as I mentioned, the Blowflies are on top, but only narrowly. The Dirty Sprockets only 2 points behind. So could absolutely turn on a dime in this race tonight. It could very well be that the winner tonight is going to be our winner going into round 6. So everything to play for in the B1s. We'll go back to the Zwift racing action now, full screen. And let's just sit in with the B1s for the time being. Might catch them going up Libby Hill, and then we might switch back to the B2 guys for the race up 23rd Street, and we'll see what sort of damage has been done over there. As I mentioned, 5 times around this course, 5 times up each of these short cobbled climbs. If you are a follower on the YouTube channel, you might have seen my breakdown of Libby Hill. One of the most famous, well-known, maybe well-loved, or maybe a little bit love-hate in terms of the relationship with that climb in the world of Zwift. It's gorgeous, it's interesting, it just has everything, and it hurts like heck, obviously, over the course of a minute and a quarter or so that these B-grade riders will be doing that climb in. So I'm just going to quickly see if I can get set up to jump back into B2 when we need to, which is all set up now. The rider's now coming down through this flat section. Nice opportunity here to recover. There's been some chances to super tuck down that first steep descent, so should be some fresh legs coming through. Unfortunately, we're missing the positions on the road for these riders, which is the only unfortunate thing. But we should be able to try and keep tabs on them as this race breaks up, and try and keep you at the front of the field and keep you on top of the story of the race as it unfolds. So swinging around for our first look at Libby Hill, little bump here. We might just get a feeling of who is going to attack this hill, looking to get in a position early on this little rise. Still quite a little bit of flat road till we get to the base of the official KOM. So going to be interesting to see who's going for the first across the line, who's going for the fastest segment time. You'd have to think fastest segment time is going to be set on lap 1 with this big bunched field. You can definitely get some nice draft up Libby, especially in the first half of that climb. So we'll expect to see the fastest time set on this lap, and if you're going for it, you don't want to be starting right at the front. Do try and start a little bit back and then work your way up through and get a little bit of a time advantage there. So onto the official KOM now. We can see on the left-hand side the times from the A-grade races. Ben Hill from Arrow, under a minute up this climb. That's absolutely sizzling. Now, we won't see that sort of time here, but we do see some aggression up the front. TBR, Nabi from TBR is going to be the one setting the pace, going for the first across the line points as we hit up this first steep pinch, hitting 8 or 9% here. Brief little bit of flat. We see Stewart from the Blowflies. In amongst it, looks like he is going to be at the pointy end of this one. Let's have a look at how this race is stretching out already. It's only a short climb, but it can do some damage. So Nabi. And who do we have here from Team Dirt leading the way? But the Blowflies are coming in hard. Here comes Adam Evans, surging double wood figures, 12 watts a kilo, taking the lead up Libby Hill and taking control of this race early on. He's stretched out over a second lead, now 2 seconds. Adam Evans, what an effort up this first climb. He has got legs to burn. He is flying up to the banner. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens behind him. And Adam Evans takes the first KOM in commanding fashion. Close behind him. Mix of teams represented. We can see the Dirty Sprockets well represented up the front. More points from Stewart for the AHDR Blowflies in the top 10 there. And the TBR 52th team also well represented. It's a fantastic start from AHDR there and from the Dirty Sprockets. It's really setting the scene for this head-to-head battle, which, as we saw, could well define the results in this division. So front group of, what have we got here? About 8 riders. And then stringing out, we might sort of see a second group that are going to be a little outnumbered. This group working well here together now to reel in these first 2 attackers. And we might just stick with this race. And now we'll jump back in with the B2 race. Maybe for lap 2 of these climbs, but really interested to see how this sort of pans out, the back-to-back climbing of Libby into 23rd Street. So riders taking a little super tuck recovery here. We'll jump back in with Adam Evans, who's held on to a lead, managed to hold off the chasers here through this downhill section. So he's going to get onto the 23rd Street KOM first, and there he goes onto the official timing now. You can see the A-grade times 21 seconds. Oh, but here come the competitors. Daly from Aero, straight over the top of Adam Evans, who may have just pushed We saw him push extremely hard up Libby, going for top time up there, and now the chasers are coming. So Daly from Aero has the lead. Templeton is it from the Dirty Sprocket. Stewart from the Blowflies now trying to chase down Daly from Aero. He's going, hitting the edge of the cobble that flattens out here. Daly Stewart's got the advantage, but Daly's just holding on. He will take first, Stewart second, Skinner from the Dirty Sprockets third. Adam Evans, great effort holding on for fourth over the line. And once again, the Dirty Sprockets very well represented in that top 10, and TBR doing well as well. So these top two teams, AHDR and Dirt, very prominent early on. We can see those three orange and brown Dirt jerseys there and two AHDR riders. So it looks like Team Dirt have got the weighted numbers here early on. Might even be four riders they've got here in this front group. That's a fantastic first lap for them. That's where you want to be, is up the front, farming points around these laps. And so we've basically got what looks to be our top 10 here. And this is definitely going to be where the race is won or lost for these teams. You'd have to say advantage Team Dirt getting four into this front group. They'll be collecting points pretty much every single lap now, unless there are some monstrous efforts off the back. We'll sort of jump back in with that chasing group now. See if we've got any organization here. It doesn't look like it. There's a couple of little clumps, and maybe we can get some weight of numbers here to try and chase down this group. It's not gone yet, only 7-second gap. But we will see what happens. We've got one more climb to go up Governor Street here. So we'll stick with this race just for these first lap climbs, and then we'll go back and have a look back through the field over here and see how it's broken up, and also back to the B2 race and check in on our two AHDR teams there. But really enjoying this battle here at the moment for that all-important front group and who is going to be able to be there at the pointy end. As I mentioned, we've got to go through these climbs 5 times, and if you can be there for those first across the line points every lap, even if you're just in that group, you're going to be accruing points every time through. For the Dirt guys, with this weight of numbers, it's really just sitting in and making sure that they maintain that supremacy at the moment. If they can do that, they're going to be very hard to knock off. Evans and Stewart from AHGR with a job ahead of them. We've seen them push up, score big points, score more points individually than any of the Dirt riders, but the Dirt riders, as we said, with the weight of numbers, just probably have the edge here, and it's going to be really, really tough for any of for the AHDR boys, the two of them, to get a good enough score, high enough results on these climbs to keep Dirt out. And as I say that, we do have some coming back together now. It looks like that front group just eased off a fraction, and we have a much bigger race here than I thought. This has really come back together. Fantastic effort from the groups behind, working together, chasing back on. So early advantage Team Dirt, but this is far from over. I might have been a little bit dismissive of these back groups. I wasn't sure they would be able to make up so much ground coming up this climb, but Governor Street has proved decisive for this race, and we do have a huge group, probably 20 or 30 riders now amassing at the front of this race. So coming to the flatter part of this climb now, it looks like this is all going to come back together, and we're going to have a sizable peloton here in the B1 race, trying to get some recovery in for the lap 2 climbs. So that's the story in B1. Let's have a look now over at B2 with Booth from the AHDR Beers sitting back. Let's zoom out here and have a look. So we've got a couple of riders up the front. See if we can get up there now. And this looks like the front group here, who we got represented. There is Innsbruck Ringers, who we mentioned. I can see a few there. Relentless, who we also mentioned being in that top 3 teams for this race. Also very well represented the peloton. Yeah, the pink jerseys are, I was going to say TBR. I might be wrong there. I'll have to check. But it certainly looks like those early teams that we saw, Dirt OG, Relentless, THB, sorry, the pink team. Innsbruck in the Vision kit. That's a new team for me. I haven't seen them. And then we have Team Relentless here in the white and the blue. So looks like Dams from Relentless is going to be leading us up onto the straight, heading back towards the lap banner to finish lap 1 of 5 here, ahead of a group of about 20. So THB done very well here to get numbers up the front. Relentless, we can see 1, 2. That's what we got. Innsbruck Ringers 4 of their jerseys I can see here in this group. 3 from THB. Swing around now. Have a look at what we've got from Relentless. It's 2 or 3 riders here as well. We can see Team Aero representing the Aussie green and gold up the front. Nice little group forming here. Let's have a look at the gaps now. So first group on the road. Do we have any AHDR riders here? I don't think we have any that have made this elite first group. They've got an 18-second gap now. Back to a couple of chasers. Trong from WMZ, Bay from Relentless. It looks like they're about to be joined by a few more and sort of form a reasonable sized second group here on the road. 17 seconds going to be hard to make up between here and Libby Hill. It looks like the front group have got the weighted numbers too. So unless this group really work together and that front group set up, it looks like it'll be that front group of, we see 10 or 15 riders that will be contesting the big points on these lap 2 climbs. Just looking back through the field now, Booth from the AHDRBs, he's found a nice group, just sitting a minute or so back now. Phil Pelgrim following that group, looking just to tack on to that group and get a little bit of draft, but we'll be joined soon by some company there. So riders clumping up again as we go through this section. You can see on the minimap just how stretched out this is after just one lap. I can only imagine what's going to happen here on laps 2 through 5. I do know we have a reasonable AHDR audience, hopefully with us tonight. So might actually look if we can jump back into the blowflies to watch how those guys are doing, because they are very prominent up front in that group. Here we are. Stewart from the AHDR blowflies. So this group that we saw come together up Governor Street, flying along 58 kilometers an hour down here. It looks like they've so far stayed together. So good representation here from a few riders from Aero, some good representation from Dirt, as we saw AHDR, 3 jerseys up here in the front group. So that Stewart and Evans have been joined by another one of their compatriots. I'll just try catch who that is. It's always hard with these. Martin Tenham has managed to latch on, and Evan might be a 4th AHDR rider in there as well. So yeah, 4 HDR jerseys now joining our 4 Dirty Sprockets. So this is going to be a really interesting battle as we head back towards Libby Hill to see what we can get here. It looked like Adam Evans and Libby Hill just blew the competition away, basically. You'd have to think he's done enough there to lock in the 20 points for the fastest time up that hill. We saw maybe some allocated hills here because yeah, Adam Evans obviously went hard up Libby Hill. Then we saw Stewart go particularly hard chasing up 23rd Street, and given how far back he started, you'd have to think that was an excellent time as well. And I didn't quite catch the leaderboard, but we'll see it as we go through on this second lap to see who is at the top and who has scored well in that race for the fastest time up those hills. And you'd have to think that that one's locked in unless someone at the back manages to get a bit of recovery and really takes a tilt at one of these hills, but very hard to do without the draft of the group for sure. So nice little gap here that this group's opened up. We've got 14 seconds back to our chasers. We've got a few AHDR riders represented back here as well as some members of the Dirty Sprockets. WMZBs, very appropriately attired in the yellow and black stripes as well. Reasonable size group here. They do have a fair bit of ground to make up. We've got 14 seconds to these riders and then another 13 up to the front of the field. So nearly a 28-second gap for that big chasing group there. You'd think that's going to be too much of an ask given the size of that group, but if we do see it shatter, you never know. We might see some interesting movements later on in the race as the bigger groups further back do catch up with some riders who have been dropped in this front group. we'll sit in with Adam Evans as we go up Libby Hill for the second time. I think he's earned that given his heroics on that first lap. It was a commanding performance. Just absolutely blitzed them, came up to the cobbles, dialed it up into the double watts per kilo, 11, 12 watts a kilo, and just shredded that climb. Please let me have legs like that going up Libby Hill tomorrow. Would love to be able to just waltz away from the field like Adam did there. That was a masterful climbing effort. See what damage that's done to his legs and what he's got left as we go up the second time. So just over that little bump now, sort of sorting ourselves out. You'd think that the fastest segment time is probably done and dusted here. At least the big points, first, second, and third, are really worth a premium. That competition are going to be very hard to set a top 10 time from here, but we might see a few efforts here. Unfortunately, I've got all the A grade times there on the list, but see Adam Evans 104 for I'm just shaking my head for a B grade race. That is just the most incredible time. No wonder he streeted them. I'll be lucky if I can get within 10 seconds of that tomorrow. I will be very, very pleased. So field's starting to stretch here, and who's taking it up at the front of the race? It's seemed like it's quite as frenetic a pace as we saw early on. Nabi from TBR, we saw him go on the attack up Libby Hill last time, and he is once again setting the pace, looking to just open up a gap here onto the cobbles to try and steal these 10 points first across the line. Martin Tenham from AHDR, Morton from WMZ. Weatherall from Youngna following, and now Adam Evans, the king of Libby Hill. Here he comes, just grinding Nabi down. Orange numbers opening up behind him, and Adam's got orange numbers of his own, up to 8.6 watts a kilo, over the top of Nabi. Now hitting out for the top. Nabi looks like he is done and dusted for this lap. He might hold on for second. No, he won't. The Dirty Sprockets closing in hard for second and third, but Adam Evans once again, king of Libby Hill. Thank you very much. Some points there for Nabi from TBR. Looks like Dirty Sprockets might have had 3 riders in that top 10. And a couple from AHDR, as well as some little gaps open here. But an elite little group off the front. And some little gaps opening, but some nice efforts here from Stuart from the AHDR Blowflies and from Kent to close this down. Critical moment of the course, this, as you go across this section. If you can hold on here, you're sort of all set. If you drop, then it's very, very hard to make up ground with 23rd Street straight after this descent and little flat section. So Martin Tenham looks like he's just dropped off in that group. That's 5 seconds off the leading bunch, but that might be possible to make that up. It's not game over yet for this little group. They do have some numbers there. Might be able to work together and get back up Governor Street like we saw. It did seem like that was the time to take a rest and just settle and let the race kind of come back together a little bit. We didn't see riders continuing to push after the efforts up 23rd. Big efforts though. This time they're definitely going hard for the points. We have Morton from WMZ leading the way. Stewart trying to close him down. Daly from Aero, who won the first climb up 23rd Street, pushing up now for second. Adam Evans over the top. Is he going to get there? Chasing down Daly. No, Daly again. Master of 23rd Street. Adam Evans back to back to back. Just keeps going into second. Beautiful climb again from Stewart in fourth. Morton filling in the gap in third from the Bees. The Dirty Sprockets well represented after that as well. So brilliant climbing effort from Evans. Has definitely got Libby Hill all sorted out, but it's the rider from Aero who has got his got well and truly dialed in for 23rd Street. That's 2 long hard sprints up that climb. Daly has just blitzed them. Both times there was a battle on his hands. That time it looked like they were going to close and come over the top, but just had enough as the road flattened out to keep them away. And this front group, only some little time gaps opening up there as we head towards Governor Street. Let's have a look at what's happening behind this front group. Looks like Nabi might be able to just latch back on here. We've got a couple seconds back now. Spear from the Blowflies. Oh, that's a tough gap to make up. 178 beats per minute up on the clock. Sort of in no man's land at the moment, 4 seconds behind our leading peloton. Maybe he can get onto Nabi's wheel and bridge this gap. That's a tough ask, though. With another climb to come, we know we're going to head into Governor Street very shortly. And then back again to the second group on the road. To me, hard to call. Looks like they might just reel in Spear. Nabi pushing up now. Listen, feel for these guys. This is hard to do. Backing up again. It's on their 6th punchy climb for the day now. We'll just have a look at what's going on at the front of the race. It looks like it's fairly sedate up here. It looks like Nabi's managed to close in really nicely there and join in, and Spear not far behind. What a big effort to hold onto the power, close down this gap. This can't be easy. The legs must be absolutely burning up this climb, but Spear digging really deep. That heart rate just continues to rise, but he's latched back on. Masterful work. What we love to see from Team AHDR, just digging really, really deep there, getting back up to the front group and then staying in contention for those points through the bonus sections. So nice little front group here. Green from Zedsun also closing in. And once again, Governor Street is the place to bring the race back together. So looks like riders are just going all in on those bonus climbs, going for the points, and then just sitting up on this third climb and really starting their recovery up this section. I mean, it's not a complete recovery. We're certainly seeing some decent watts here at the front, and it's a strung out field, but definitely coming back together in a big way up this climb. Not quite the same size of group that we had originally or after lap 1, but it's still going to be a sizable group, and this top 10, the people who are going to get the bonus points, still far from decided here. So let's leave these guys here and jump back in with the B2 race, and let's see what sort of damage has been done there. If we can get in, always a little bit of a lottery with Zwift Companion these days, unfortunately. No one wants to let me in. Of course, no appreciation for the fact that we are live here on Zwiftaholics and trying to cover both races. Try our luck with the AHDR and its team. No, it looks like we are well and truly out of luck at the moment on Zwift Companion. As you can see, there's no options to jump into that race. So I'll just keep trying in the background while we just take a bit of a breath after 2 very fast-paced laps. I will check in on my commentary partners. Looks like no one's available to join in at the moment, so you're stuck with just me as we follow what has been a fascinating race around Richmond so far. I think we've only had 2 laps so far. We've still got 3 to go. Big watts being dropped on these punchy climbs. And yeah, really dynamic race. We're seeing small groups get up the road, riders getting into 1-2 second solo breakaways, but I guess really just appreciating the fact that it's going to be hard to hold that and then contest again for the bonus points. So Libby Hill and 23rd Street really dictating the pace of this race as expected. To be honest, I'm surprised by the pace up Governor Street. I thought that there would still be some efforts there to push on, consolidate those gaps, and really try and establish a elite front group that could just farm points basically for the rest of the race. But twice now, and over in B2 as well, we've seen that front group really just ease up that kill and let others catch on. So it looks like it's basically from top of 23rd Street, the recovery starts to go for the points once again. So what have we got? Around 15 riders represented here in the front group of the B1 race. And just a reminder that we do have the AHDR Blowflies leading this division on 79 points. The Dirty Sprockets on 77 are close behind, and then a pretty significant gap back to Eat Dirt Reynolds and the Bees, the WMZ Bees, on 65 points. So this division, as we head into the second half of the season, really between Blowflies and the Dirty Sprockets at the moment. And both well represented here. I'd be hard pressed to pick exactly who has the edge. It seems like the Dirty Sprockets have had the weight of numbers. In terms of number of riders in the top 10, they've sort of had 3 or 4 on most climbs, but Adam Evans and Mitchell Stewart have really been well represented at the pointy end and scooping those top points for first, second, third over the line. So going to be tightly bunched. I think given the team nature of this and the scoring, it would be advantage Dirty Sprockets just at the moment. There is a premium on that fastest segment time, but obviously when we're going through that segment 5 times, like we are tonight around Richmond, it's not quite the same premium on that as it is when you have when you're only going through it a couple of times or 3 times, like we've seen, for instance, around Beach Island Loop or around New York. So those 20 points for the fastest segment time do start to get diluted in their impactfulness by the 10 points for first across the line every single lap. Still a little bit of flat recovery here for these riders. Heading back down towards Libby Hill. I can only imagine what that's going to feel like tomorrow in this section, just trying to get the heart rate down. We can see these riders recovering pretty well. Spear down to 140 beats a minute. Daly, who we saw going hard up 23rd Street twice, down to 120. So I don't know if the legs are feeling it, but the cardio systems certainly look like they've managed to just take a break there, ease off. We see Mitch Stewart still up around 150, so he's still been working. He's going to be going into Libby with, still doing a little bit of work. Hasn't recovered to the same extent that some of these other riders have. Adam Evans still up 167, no doubt. He's definitely put in the work. We can give him that one. It's going to be interesting to see just how many times can one rider go that hard up Libby Hill and win the race up Libby Hill in a row. We've seen him do it by a significant margin on lap 1, obviously going for that fastest segment time, and looked like he nailed that with a cracking time, just over a minute. And then focusing a bit more and being a bit more strategic on that second time up, looking to just get over the line first and just made his move with about 100 meters to go rather than the early attack that we saw on lap number 1. Jumping in quickly just to check in on our audience tonight, and hello everyone who's watching, just seeing if we've got any comments from the team at the moment. Looks like it's happy days in the audience. So a question from Paul Taylor, not racing ZRL, not in this time zone. Paul, my kids being the age they are, this is not the ideal time for me to race. Managed to get a leave pass to do the commentary, which was great tonight. But I'll be racing in the morning, bright and early, 4:45 a.m. in EMEA, and then again at 9:15 to support our Americas team. Make sure we've got the numbers there. So thanks everyone. Daisy, Sai, really really great to have you along. Thanks for your comments as well. Some interesting comments there on Spear in a world of pain in no man's land, trying to close the gap. Wasn't that a huge effort? Yeah, picking up Governor Street. And Sai, I completely agree. I hope that Governor Street pace is the same for us tomorrow or later today, your time, when we're racing. I think we could all look forward to a little gap. I raced this as a bit of a recon race, or I attempted to earlier in the week. It was disastrous. There was certainly no easing up Governor Street. It was just full on. I got dropped well and truly on a second time around. The climbs, Libby Hill the second time just destroyed me, and then I couldn't hold on up 23rd Street. So different style of race, that one. Looking there, we didn't have the primes in that race, and so everyone was just looking to inflict pain and drop each other, not looking ahead to the bonus points on the later laps, which seems to be happening here. And not the same incentive to drop riders up Governor Street at the expense of your own ability to chase the big points for first up the top of these hills and fastest through segment time. Coming around now to our third time up Libby Hill. Oh, and it looks like I will be able to jump back in with the other division as well after this, which is good news. But as we are onto this critical climb here, we'll stick with the B1 race and the Blowflies versus the Dirty Sprockets. Fascinating battle unfolding here. I would love to have some live points. But possibility for one of these teams to take some ascendancy here, I think, if they can have a good lap here. Kent taking the initiative in this lap. I haven't confirmed what team Kent is from, but opening up a nice little gap here. Looks like he's just going on the attack, making it a mission to go for the top for the 10 points first across the line. On lap number 3, we see some familiar names behind him. Nabi from TBR, stalking that lead. Daly from Aero's been prominent. Spear from the Blowflies, who put in that magnificent effort to chase back onto the peloton. Looks like he's recovered well. He's up there competing, and now the orange numbers start popping from the back. Morton from the Bees, he's leading the charge up here. We have Weatherall from Team TV and Adam Evans, the king of Libby Hill. Here he goes again. He's found his favourite spot and he's putting the hurt down, but he might have some company this time. Caesar from the Dirty Sprockets. He's got some legs. He's got some petrol left in the tank, and Caesar goes over the top. Evans tries to fight back, but he's not going to get there. Caesar's going to take lap 3. Adam Evans prominent again in second. Templeton from the Dirty Sprockets in third over the line. We've got Morton from the Bees. Nabi again, well represented. Stewart looked like he got some points for the Blowflies. That might be it for the Dirty Sprockets. So 3 riders in the top 10 for the Dirty Sprockets. I think they're 2 from AHDR. Advantage Dirty Sprockets once again. And looks like they might just be edging away each time. I think AHDR have the advantage on the faster segment times. It's a little hard to see on the leaderboard here. We can see that the Blowflies have put some good times in, but can't tell, unfortunately, whether those are the A grade times or the B grade times, apart from the riders that you might be able to recognize with those scrolling names. It's hard to see. But it feels to me like the Dirty Sprockets are in the box seat here. They have four riders, might only be 3 now, represented in this front group. We had 4 before. And just seem to be accumulating points a little bit better than the AHDR boys. So still plenty of points to go. And as I say that, we are heading back up 23rd Street. Let's have a look. Ken Daly from Aero make it 3 in a row. Evans from AHDR couldn't do it. Couldn't do the 3-peat on Libby Hill. And these boys are not done yet. Mitch Stewart, after setting the first time by the look of it on the first lap, he's got legs. He is kicking away. Stewart's going to take 23rd Street from lap 3. Morton from the Bees and Caesar from the Sprockets backing up again from Big Libby Hill. Daly from Aero, it's been his hill, and once again he's close, finishing in 4th. Adam Evans from AHDR in 5th or 6th by the look of it. So just as I was saying that the Dirty Sprockets had taken advantage in this race, AHDR come out, big climb from Mitch Stewart, take the full 10 points, and Evans not far behind. Looks like advantage AHDR on that climb, and maybe that's a break even on this lap. So just before I jump back to the other race, have a quick look at the gaps here. We've got a few off the back. Stewart's still in there. Cox from the WMZBs putting in some big watts. Chase back on 486 watts after doing those 3 punchy climbs. Thank you very much. That is an effort. And it looks like it's going to pay off too. He's just scooching onto the back here. Spear again. Finds himself on the wrong side of the peloton, but at least has some wheels to chase here. We know he can get that heart rate up over 180 when he needs to. Chase back on it. Looks like he's going to catch up as well. So we're going to have a similar makeup here of our top 10. 23 seconds back to that dropped rider from the Dirty Sprocket. So we did have 4 not too long ago, but we're down to 3v3 AHDR versus the Dirty Sprockets, and maybe AHDR just getting a little bit of ascendancy here with some good climbing efforts there. The Sprockets prominent on Libby Hill, but AHDR hitting back hard up 23rd Street. And just with the numbers here, managing to hold at 3v3, dropping one of the dirt riders, it could just be tilting AHDR's way. We know they've got an advantage on the segment times from those fast lap 1 climbs. And now that the Dirty Sprockets have lost their numerical advantage, it might just be enough. Going to jump back in now with the Division B2 race. the AHDR Bandits and the AHDR Beers, and let's have a look at what we have here. Fortunately, I don't have any positions on the road, so we're just going to have to kind of work our way up the list here. So up over 23rd Street, that rider looked like he was having some particular challenges getting up over these steep cobbles. Here we now recognize some of these top teams: Dirt OG, the Innsbruck Ringers, and the THB riders. No, I've messed up those pink jerseys again. That's got to be another team. So we can see some riders who we recognized here. Oh, the Dirt riders are in the pink. Well, that's nice. Thank you very much, Team Dirt, for choosing the distinguishing kit here, so we don't get confused between the two Dirt teams represented. So this looks to be our lead group. So this has been fractured a bit more than the B1 race. We have 6 riders now heading up to Governor Street, followed by a close packed group of 3. Interesting mix. Up here at the front, looks like Dirt OG have got 2 riders represented. They'd be keen to stay away here, I think. I don't really want to have these 2 Innsbruck Ringers joining them, but they're not going to get a choice. Nice little chase back on from the Innsbruck Ringers. So 9 riders here at the front. Great spot for these guys to be able to just sit in. They'll be collecting points every climb, every lap, unless this group behind, with more Innsbruck Ringers riders represented, can close this gap up Governor Street. So this has been the recovery climb, dare I say it, if such a thing exists in the world of Zwift, a recovery climb. But we have seen the races really come back together here, and it looks like it's going to happen again. So Florin from the Ringers bridging across to the peloton. Looks like no one's really pushing up the front of this group. Just easing off, letting the heart rate come down a little bit, giving the legs a little bit of a break. As I say it though, these riders are almost seem determined to prove me wrong. Gab from the Innsbruck Ringers just opening up a little gap there, but 4.5 watts a kilo. Just putting a little bit of hurt on. Maybe had the word in the ear from the DS if he's got one about what's happening behind. So not going to let these other riders just sit in and recover up this hill. Just going to maintain the pace, but no panic in the group behind. Just sitting in nicely and looking to work together up this hill. See if they can hold off these other riders. So about a 17-second gap now back to Buckland and Relentless leading the charge in that following group. Oh, he's caught in the middle actually. In no man's land at the moment, and then a further 14 seconds back to our next group on the road. So it looks like this front group of 9 riders have done enough here. It's swelled a little bit, hasn't it? We have got 10 riders now. So perfect number for everyone to get at least a participation point up Libby Hill and 23rd Street. And next time around, if they can stay here in this group of 10, hold off that chase from Buckland, who despite riding on his own is actually managing to close this gap quite nicely. So he's still pushing on 360 watts, determined to get back into this peloton. 187 beats per minute, that is work. 400 watts. Unbelievable, considering that we've had 3 laps of these vicious climbs. That is a phenomenal effort here from Buckland. Smart racing, really. There's only recovery to come for the next few minutes. If he can get back into this group, he'll be able to sit in. He'll have a couple of minutes. So kudos. We'll give it a thumbs up for P. Buckland there. This is a nice effort as he rejoins the group, gets to sit in, dial back that wattage a little bit and recover. So a little bit look back through the field now, just have a look at how the other teams are going and where we're represented. So Dirt OG and the Innsbruck Ringers are definitely going toe-to-toe in this one, as we would have expected from the leaderboards for that division. Team Aero doing fairly well at the front. Team Relentless well represented. And Team HDR, as we mentioned, sort of in a bit of a dogfight for the middle of the table. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. It looks like the other teams are going to scoop the bonus points on the segment, so it's all going to come down to that final finishing positions and final finishing sprint for the AHDR riders here for the minor placings in that division for this race. So as we sit in with them for just a second, let's see if we can get back to the B1 race, which has been so very interesting. It looks like we can get in with Richard Spear. We've seen him have gaps open up in front of him a couple of times, chased back on bravely both times. And it looks like this group has just held together nicely enough. I'm just looking for our third Dirty Sprockets rider. Maybe we've lost one. I can only see 2 dirt jerseys in this group, which is a turn up. So maybe there was a little bit of attrition up Governor Street. We went away, went to the B2 race to see how they were going. Thinking Governor Street would be a little bit of a recovery, but we can clearly see now that the Dirty Sprockets have gone the numerical advantage 4 out of a very condensed lead group on lap 1. And as the group expanded and went through Libby Hill and 23rd Street on that second lap and third lap have lost their numerical advantage and now lost another rider. So actually it's definitely advantage Team AHDR now with 3 riders represented here in the front group. The Bs have got 2, Aero have got 2, and it looks like solo riders represented for the other teams in this competition. So advantage AHDR. Didn't see that coming. Hard to tell, just looking at the rider list, whether it might have been Skinner that's dropped back to join that other group. I don't recognize the name. Hard to keep track of exactly where everyone is in these dynamic races, but nice little second group on the road here, 22 seconds behind that front group. It's a nice gap. I think it'd be enough for them to hold on to it the way that these guys at the front have been riding and the way they've been attacking these hills again and again every lap, even if we are 3 laps deep into this race. Still a while to go though, mind you, and still some big points available on the finish line, of course, which will be fought hard. And there'll be some valuable points here in this second group as well. So looking forward to seeing how they go battling there. They are closing this gap just slightly. So 20 seconds there. You never know. We do have 2 laps to go. Crazier things have happened. Then this front group splintering and some of that second group absorbing it and really improving their chances of getting a nice finishing score for their team. Let's do a quick count and just have a look at how many riders here are going to be able to score points on this climb. So I think we've got 12 riders here. So important here for the AHDR team if they do want to take this one out today, making the most of their numbers here and getting all 3 of the riders into the top 10. We'll be looking closely to see how they go. Can they get that advantage? Make the most of those numbers and keep the Dirty Sprockets out of those top couple of positions. And on the other side of the coin now, it's the Dirty Sprockets trying to do what Adam Evans and Mitch Stewart did on those first couple of laps and really get up to the front, take the premium points, and take the edge off the advantage that the AHDR team have. Spear is really, I suppose, one of the key riders here who's been managing to hold on to this front group. Is going to pay dividends at the end if he can stick with them, get a really nice finishing position, not have to fight for that back in the second group, who are closing actually. Now that I mention it, I mean, we were looking at 22 seconds not too long ago. It's now 13 seconds. So this is still wide open, especially on the final positions through the line. Libby Hill is obviously going to be contested here by this front group. They're not going to be closing down even that 11-second gap up this hill, but it's going to be fascinating to see what this race looks like once we get over these next couple of prime climbs. We'll see Evans is just sitting at the back there. No one's going to touch that 104.3. Some of the A riders would be happy to touch 104.3 out Libby Hill. That was an amazing climb. We didn't get to see if he had a power up or not. They're not showing up in the view that I've got here tonight. But that was a magnificent effort. Certainly won't be touched. He'll take the 20 points for fastest up this hill. And once again, lap number 4, Nabi from TBR. He's been an aggressor, Hasn't managed to take the maximum points yet, but he's been there or thereabouts every single lap. And he wants to set the pace here. Again, Nabi from Japan. 5.9 watts a kilo, really starting to ramp up the pace as we get into this steep cobbled section. Is he going to be able to hold on this time? He's done so well setting the pace. He keeps getting to the front, but often it's through this section as it flattens out that the riders behind start popping the orange numbers and have just been able to overpower him and come over the top. And once again, that advantage seems to be narrowing in the dirty sprockets. They're outnumbered, but they're not outmatched on the watts. Caesar, we saw him win last time. He's going again. Couple hundred meters to the line. Evans, the king of Libby Hill. What can he do? He's chasing. He's closing well this time. Adam Evans coming over the top. Can he get through the line? No. Caesar takes his second in a row, but Adam Evans gets second. Templeton from the Sprockets. Great job from these guys to go 2 and 3, I think. 1 and 3, sorry. And take, what's that, 18 points there. Brilliant effort. We'll look back for Spear from AHDR. Did he get in the top 10? I didn't catch whether or not he was quite up there. It looks like he's done well, though. So Evans and Stewart were definitely in there. Once again, really tight between these two teams, Dirt and AHDR, as to who has just got the edge. Dirt doing well there with a two-man team to really get up to the pointy end of that race, up to the top of Libby Hill through the banner. Adam Evans still got something in the tank. How he's still kicking up that hill, I do not know. But masterful climbing display from him. These guys are getting to know each other pretty well now. They've done, what have we done? 13 climbs together if you include the Governor Straight ones. Heading now into our 8th prime of the day. Crazy number, and I believe there's still another lap to go. Plus the finishing sprint. I'm sure Governor Street is not going to be an easy climb next time around. And once again, they're hitting it daily, looking to reclaim the crown up 23rd Street, but he's got company. Stewart from AHDR. He's right in there, and it's Stewart. Stewart pushing hard, taking the lead over Daly. Caesars isn't given up yet. He's not tapped out from his Libby Hill effort. He's actually might be going for the win. Stewart holding the lead. He's just doing enough to hold him off. Caesar closing, but he's not going to get there. And Daly, another powerful climb. He's in 3rd. Morton from the Bees in 4th. And then a mix behind. Looks like we had some representation from Bees, Dirty Sprockets, AHDR. And looks like, yeah, maybe AHDR did have, if we've got 12 here in this front group, I think they got all 3 in the top 10, which is critical for them. And Mitch Stewart taking the full 10 points there. You'd think slight advantage to AHDR over those 2 primes. And if these 2 teams keep splitting these prime points, it's really going to be interesting coming up to the finish. I think it's probably going to come down to that. You'd have to think the intermediates are close. We've seen Dirt with the early numbers advantage. AHDR really dominate the faster segment times. Take probably the premium, the 20 points on both of those segments between Mitch Stewart and Adam Evans in what looked like a planned strategy, playing to each rider's strengths, letting Evans really attack Libby, Stewart attack 23rd Street. It seems to be a really smart way of doing it. I think we know that as riders, as much as we'd love to attack every single one of these climbs, it's just not going to happen. So really making advantage of the team nature of this competition, allocating these riders to chase a climb that they're strong on, and it's going to be fascinating to see what happens as we come towards the finish. So we saw only a 13-second gap to the second chasing group. That's blown out here. So clearly the climbing advantage is with that lead group, and they were just saving their legs, knowing what's coming, knowing it was going to be hard from the get-go, chasing those points. And so the second group now out to a 30-second gap. They did close down really well. We saw them get from 22 seconds down to about 11, getting onto Libby Hill. So if the front group really sits up, there might be a chance. There might be a chance that we'll get some consolidation here as we come in to the final lap. But it's going to be a big effort from here. 4 laps, 4 times up those prime climbs in the tank. Going to be some tired boys here on the road. As we have a quick look back through the field, it's so nice looking third group here. Coming up to the bottom of Governor Street now, as we see the leaders a couple hundred meters from the top. Picking back up now to our lead group. That gap is just closing a little bit. 25, 27 seconds. You wouldn't think that we're going to see come back together on this lap, but maybe if they work together and maybe there's some communication here. We haven't seen any messages from the riders, but again, that could just be the display here. We're not seeing any power ups either. So at least the riders are pedaling, which they weren't at the beginning of tonight, which was, if that had been how we were going to have to look at the race the whole time, been easily the most bizarre thing I've ever covered on Zwift, but something for the highlights reel anyway, something different. Jumping back in just to the comments and seeing what we've got. So thanks everyone tuned in to watch tonight. I hope you're enjoying the battles that we've seen. Interesting note, I missed this one actually, some fastest times on that recent lap later into the course, which is interesting. And yes, Paul, 4:45 a.m. Unfortunately, for those of us on the Australian East Coast, the EMEA North region races at 4:45, and then there's a gap through that prime morning slot when we'd be getting up and before kids and work starts. And the next race isn't until 9:15. So if we want a quiet morning before work to jump into ZRL, it's 4:45 a.m. or bust. And so thankfully, a good group of the AHDR boys have been getting up at that time, and we're pretty used to it from racing in the WTRL team time trials as well. They race at pretty much the same time later in the week. So yeah, we're just sort of accustomed to not getting a lot of sleep if we want to race with this team at that time of day. So how many riders in this front group? I think we've got 12 in the front group of B1. Yeah, I'll just double check. I don't think we've had any more attrition through Governor Street there. It looked like a fairly sedate climb. It's got some tips and tricks for counting riders when they're moving all over the road like this. I would be all for it. Well, we know we've got 3 from AHDR, 2 from the Bs, 2 from Aero, 2 from the Dirty Sprockets. That's 9. We know we have Nabi, it's 10. And Kent is 11. We have 1 more rider represented here at the back too. Who haven't I mentioned? Find him. But I do think we have 11 riders left in this front group. I know I'm spending way too much time just trying to work out this number. But it's interesting to know for those prime climbs to really get a sense of where the riders need to be on the road to collect those points. Going with 13 riders in this front group. I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to stop counting. So important here for the AHDR guys to make the most of that advantage, get all 3 riders into the top 10 up these final 2 primes. And then as we know, the points do drop off pretty rapidly from those first few positions on the podium. Big premium for lodging on the podium in ZRL. So definitely opportunity now. Or see who's got the flat sprint on them actually as we come to this climb. As I say that, Cox from the WMZBs has just launched a sprint of his own. Maybe he's watching the commentary, just showing us what he can do. Here he goes again, attacking on the descent. Not something you see a lot of in racing, period, let alone Zwift racing, let alone 4 laps onto the 5th lap of cobbled climbs in ZRL. Interesting move. Didn't see this one coming. Looks like the rest of the riders just quite happy to super tuck in and recover and let the weighted numbers do the job here to close this gap up. It's only a second. He's not going to get away here. But interesting time to be burning watts. I know for me, I would be 100% super tucking down here. Absolutely no chance I'm going to be putting in 1 more watt than I need to at this stage of the race. I would just be happy to be in the front group at this stage of the race tomorrow, having gone up those hills 4 times. And if our competitors tomorrow are planning on doing the same thing as these guys are and going as hard as they were, so we've seen orange numbers pretty much from the bottom of 23rd Street to the top, and essentially from that last hairpin, I'd say, on Libby Hill seems to be the moment. There's sort of a few little jabs and surges heading up Libby Hill, and as you get to the cobbles, we've seen riders, we've seen Nabi continually just try to extend a lead up there, try and get a gap, but consistently reeled in that flat section just before that right-hand hairpin on Libby Hill just seems to be the moment to surge and to go. That's where we've seen all the winning moves made, all 4 laps in this race so far. Thank you, Luciano, for watching and for your comments. Either Luciano from Luciano Notes on Zwift Insider. I'd be curious. I do enjoy those articles. And good luck racing EMEA South tomorrow. And good luck to all of you who might be racing tomorrow. This is, oh, I don't know how you're feeling, but I'm certainly apprehensive about how this is going to feel. I know how it's going to feel. It's going to be terrible. But is it going to be as bad for everyone else? And can I hold on? These are the big questions that we'll only know early tomorrow morning for me. And I will be streaming that ride, just a basic one, no camera or anything. No one needs to see me at that time of morning, let alone busting a gut going up these hills. So we'll have that race on the YouTube channel if anyone wants to catch up on that and see how that one plays out. And then again with the Americas region a few hours later. So I fully expect to be in the second or third or some other group for that one. I don't think this is one where there's going to be a lot of success backing up, but we'll see. Just the calm before the storm here, rolling out through Richmond. Always enjoy this part of the course. So let's see. Who have we got? Nabi, TBR's solid representative at the front. We've seen him attacking, pushing hard every single lap up Libby Hill. Zito from Aero currently in the lead. Having a look at the heart rates here. Daly, we've seen can recover really well. I think he was down as low as 120 beats per minute 1 lap through here. Sitting on 134 at the moment. No worries at all. Banerjee was one who I missed actually in that early climb. So from team AHG, I think this is Katie Banerjee actually, who raced with AHGR for a little bit. So fantastic effort mixing it with the men up these climbs and holding her own well and truly in this front group. And they've been going hard. So Katie's done a fantastic ride here, representing Team Aero and scooping some points for them. She seems to be cruising as well, 136 beats per minute. No worries at all. I did want to jump in. Adam Evans, we've seen his heart rate just stay high pretty much the whole way around. Caesars from Sprockets, again, not surprisingly, given the efforts that he's put in. Really interesting to see the difference here between the riders and heart rates for the same section. So some riders really able to just utilize that descent to get the heart to slow down and get the breathing to slow down, and some other riders, obviously, the systems are just staying primed and staying on. So final time now around that iconic hairpin up this little rise. Reduced group, we'll see whether the Dirty Sprockets and Caesars continue to push up Libby Hill. Adam Evans was the king of Libby Hill early. I think he's got the best time, correct me if I'm wrong. And he's had a solid go at this every single time, but Caesars has been just too good. Too strong up those final couple of 100 meters, the last 2 laps, and he's taken both of them. And we saw the Dirty Sprockets go 1 and 3 on lap 4. So this has been their hill. This is sort of where they've pressed their advantage, and AHDR just seem to have been able to peg back a little bit on the shorter, sharper 23rd Street. So we'll watch how this one plays out. If I was a betting man, and I am, I would be putting some money on Nabi to jump to the front and lead this one out. Open up a little bit of a gap. We're going to sit in with him and let's just see. Can he do it? He's led this field every single time. 4 times up Libby, up the front. Just hasn't been able to hold on. He's been swamped by these sprinters going big double-digit orange numbers. And this time maybe a little bit of a different strategy, or maybe these riders just pushing that a little bit harder. We're seeing well over 6 watts a kilo here. Daly, who's been prominent up 23rd Street in particular, taking it up this time. Followed by Garland from Aero and Banerjee, prominent as well. So Aero pushing up, Adam Evans, the king of Libby Hill, lurking here in the background. We're going to stick with him. I think he might be planning that signature move as we take this turn on the cobbles, passing a lapped Aero rider here. And actually it might be Stuart, who is the go-to AHDR rider here. This time from Sprockets, our first attacker, the one who's going to light it up is Templeton. So we saw him surge into third spot last time. This time he's taking it up. Adam Evans, king of Libby Hill. What can he do? He's been up there, I think, in the top 2 or 3 every single lap. He's following close. He's not going to get there, though. Templeton's going to take it from Evans. Stewart, did he hold on for third for AHDR? I think he did. And Nabi did well up into fourth. So nice work there from the AHDR team. It looked like Caesars didn't quite have the legs there to push like he had been. No surprise. I mean, he's put in 2 monstrous attacks on that hill the last 2 laps to take the 10 points. So a little bit further back there. So advantage AHDR there, taking second and fourth. Looks like Dirty Sprockets first and maybe 5th or 6th or 7th. But we'll be looking at those points tallies really, really closely after this one. No gaps over the top of the climb. Heading to the descent now, and we'll see. It's the last time at 23rd Street Hill. What can these guys do? Oh, it is the famous Luciano from Luciano. It's well, thank you for watching. I know I've made it in the Zwift world now that I have you joining us. And if anyone has any questions about the terminology, you just need to go and read Luciano's last article. That was fantastic. I certainly couldn't agree more with just how interesting is the language that we speak. And goodness knows I must have thrown in a million terms tonight that the average rider would have no idea what I'm talking about. As the riders go up 23rd Street for the last time, Mitch Stewart from AHDR, he's the king of 23rd Street. He's fighting for that title now with Daly from Aero, and it looks like he's going to stamp his dominance on this hill. Aero, Daly closing, but Stewart takes it. Another win on this hill, and there's all important minor points. Who do we have? It's hard to tell here. Dirty Sprockets prominent. Looks like AHDR just off the back there. So Evans and Spear maybe missed out on points altogether on that one. Maybe Evans might have squeaked one in. As we've seen now, the damage from that climb. Can Spear close another gap and get on for this final sprint? I think Governor Street is going to be a lot more intense on lap number 5. Garland from Aero just dropping off the back, trying to get into super tuck here. 215 beats per minute. That is a serious effort to try and hold on. It might be the end of their race tonight. And looks like Spear and Kent also in trouble. We're just going to sit with them. If Spear can get on the wheel of Kent here, who's pushing 7-8 watts a kilo to get back on, we might just see him get back for this all-important finale up Governor Street climb. It's going to be interesting to see, does the group stay together here? Are we going to get a bunch kick to the line, or is it going to break down? And are we going to see more of a, see it decided on the climb? This is actually one of my very first Zwift race wins was on Richmond going up this climb with a ghost power up. It was the thing that got me hooked on Zwift racing back when we did the Zwift Classics through our COVID lockdown in 2020. So really have a soft spot for this climb, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the battle that's about to unfold here as we get onto the lower slopes of the climb. Garland from Aero, which we're trying to hold off the chasers, although I tell you what, this group here, not too far behind. 13 seconds there. I'm just wondering if that is a chase group or were they a lapped group? It looks like from the wattage numbers, we might have a chase group there. Doubt they can get there up this climb. We've only got maybe a kilometer or so to go. I think it's going to be decided here in this front group. So let's see, who's it going to be? Are we going to have a move on the climb? Who's got the sprint legs? Who thinks they can take it early? I'm seeing some attrition at the back. Spear from AHDR, heroic all night, has chased back on at least 3 times, covering like 4, 5, 6-second gaps. The sort of gaps that you just often don't see brought back in Zwift racing. He managed to close them. It might have been one gap too many as the pace surges now up the hill. Kent and Spear off the back, which leaves us with 10 riders at the front. Templeton, who we saw put in some heroics up Libby Hill, also just struggling to maintain contact here as we come up. This is the last bit of the climb. We're going to hit the top of the ride here, turn left, and then it's flat all the way in. It's just going to be a tactical battle now. See who's got the legs left. We'll see if it pulls back together. And do we have some efforts off the front here? So Stewart has climbed brilliantly up Governor Street. He's still got something to give. Nabi, prominent again, as he has been all night. We've got a little bit of a split here. We've got some gaps opening up. There's only a few hundred meters to go. You can see the banner now in the mini-map, maybe 300 or 400 meters to go. Zito, Nabi, Stewart, Weatherall up the front. Caesar's tapping on now. Morton from the Bees closing in as well. Are we going to see a long-range attack here on tired legs? Looks like we are. Zito from Arrow is going to light it up early. Weatherall from TV follows. We've only got a couple hundred meters to the line now. Here comes Stewart from the Blowflies. He's trying to close on. Zito gets reeled in. Weatherall over the top. Zito trying to fight back, but he's not going to get there. Weatherall takes it. A long-range sprint from these two. 1, 2. Stewart third. And the battle for the minors. Caesars, Morton. I'm going to lose track of them now in these riders. Brilliant finish there. We hadn't really called his name all night, but over the top, taking the big points on the line. Interesting to see that neither the Sprockets or the AHDR Blowflies managed to get in there in first or second, but Stewart from the Blowflies may have just done enough there, taking those sort of big points for third place on the podium. Might have just been enough to get over the top and take the win for AHDR. I think just on my mental math and watching it that AHDR have taken this one out. And I'll just very quickly, if we can, try and get back in with the other race and just see where they're up to. If it's going to let me in. Come on, Zwift Companion. Don't let me down now. Don't let me down now, I think. Well, thank you all so much for joining me tonight. I think that's by far and away the most live views we've ever had on the course and the most comments and questions back and forth. So I really appreciate that. I had a lot of fun joining you tonight. Unfortunately, wasn't able to have my fellow commentators join me, just me, all on my own, but I really appreciate your company. I hope you've picked up some tips for your racing this week, and good luck everyone who's racing. I think there's going to be some very tired legs after this one. Huge battles there. I think you've seen the critical points. Libby Hill, that flat bit onto that right-hand hairpin is where all the winning attacks were launched. 23rd Street was just go, go, go from the bottom. Big double-digit sprint numbers up to the top there. And then Governor Street just seems to be a little bit of an opportunity to come back together, obviously until that final lap. And we saw that the gaps that were opened up there in those final couple of hundred meters of the climb really held and gave those people at the front an advantage and able to kick away and take the win. So I've learned a lot from this experience. I'm still apprehensive about the races tomorrow, but I think I know a little bit more now. Hopefully that'll just give us a little bit of an edge. So good luck if you're racing. Thank you very much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't. That is a huge boost for me. It really helps the channel. And I will see you next time around Zwift.